Welcome to Every Night is Game Night, because we all love game nights with our family and friends. But when you play solo games, then every night can be a game night. Check us out along with other great podcasts at dicetowernetwork.com.
Every Night is Game Night, episode 114, the Top 100 Solo Games People's Choice 2018, Part 2. Hey everybody, welcome back to Every Night is Game Night. This is Anthony once again with Jason.
Yo, my peoples, what's up?
All right, and we have once again our full house here. We're back for the top 50 of the Top 100 People's Choice. Kevin and Liz, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Happy to be here.
All right, so we are going over 50 to 1 by the time this episode releases. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. So this will be the Friday of Thanksgiving, and Kevin, who put the list a little bit early this year to accommodate some vacation stuff, but the whole list is out there. We're going to just talk about all the games, so we are definitely looking forward to that. But first, I wanted to remind everybody, so next week, the next week is PAX Unplugged. So PAX Unplugged is the East Coast version of, conventions. So we have conventions all over the place, and the East Coast finally got a good one that is dedicated to board gaming. It was great last year. Anthony and I were both there. So we wanted to put it out there that Anthony, Liz, and I we will all be out there. Liz, tell us where you're going to be.
I am actually going to be demoing games at the Weird Giraffe Games booth. So if you want to come try some of those out, come and say hello.
Anthony, you usually keep yourself pretty free. Like last year, you were able to kind of float around and play some games and all that, right?
Yeah, I never work cons, so I'm always around. Might have some meetings, but I'm always around.
Cool, and I will be at the Dice Tower booth in the afternoon helping out for a couple hours, but for the most part, I'll be kind of floating around. I think the One Player Guild is talking about having a dinner. I'm definitely interested in doing that. Yes, if you see me, either at the Dice Tower booth or see any of us, just come say hi. Tell us what you think of the show. Tell us what you think of the top 100. We will pass along many, many thanks to Kevin, who is putting together this list. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Welcome. It's a labor of love.
Cool. So without further ado, let us get back to the top 100. So before we do, we are going to talk about the games that fell off. Obviously, we couldn't talk about them last time because that'd be spoilers. This time, let's talk all about them. So as we were saying before, I introduced this whole Cult of the Old concept that Sarah Bear, who helped me out with the data part of the list, kind of the analysis part of it at least. She suggested kind of keeping track of the games that have been here all 5 years. 34 games, my God, 34. That is actually a ton. And if you look at the games that kind of fell off, off of last year's list, and like a lot of times it's just debuts, games that kind of pop up and then disappear and you never see them again. So I'm thinking of some of the games like First Martians. First Martians is a game, we thought we were going to be good, and it dropped off 40 points, and it's not on the list anymore. Justin Files was probably the biggest drop off the list last year. Justin Files cooperative card game, minus 50. Don't see a lot of people playing that, but it has a really slick app, so I'm really hoping that it gets some little bit of exposure. And a surprise to me, Clank. I thought people would really gravitate towards this, but as we described last time, we talked about the average weight of a game that solo gamers like to play. Clank might be a little bit under that. So Clank is like a 2.5-ish game. Solo gamers tend towards that 3 range, that true middle. So that Clank dropped off the list as well. So that's unfortunate. The biggest drop, this one made me sad. Castellion. As a matter of fact, Castellion and Nautilion, minus 59, minus 58. They're both off of the list. Man, we need more Oniverse games. We need more Oniverse in our lives.
Why?
I mean, Castellion's all right. I would say that other than Urbion, which is just hard to get, I would say the better Oniverse games are the ones that are still on.
Anthony, it's funny because our very first episode together was all Oniverse. And now it just seems like there's no new releases. Nautilion came out in 2016, really. And then kind of trickled out 2017. We haven't got a new Omniverse game since then, and it seems like it's depressing the entire series. So I'm not really sure how that works, but hey, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, you got that. Plus, it's the Z-Man, so finding copies was never easy. And then on top of that, just generally those smaller box, they're not light necessarily, but they're lighter, they're shorter. You talked about the length and the heaviness of the games people like on here. So also, if I'm gonna pick, like if I'm making a top 20, and I don't remember if any of the Omniverse games made mine or not, but if I'm going to, I'm probably just gonna pick one of them, and it'd probably be Onirim. So
they certainly did not make Kevin's list.
No.
All right, so some more games that have fallen away. I actually noted last year about Space Cadets away missions. I was a little bit weirded out by the fact that it made the list last year. I was totally right. Completely gone. Minus 87. That is the biggest plummet. Might have to name some of these awards for biggest plummet out of the top 100. So that was Space Cadets away missions. War
harsh.
games.
Harsh, man.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's harsh. That's a good game.
Hey man, movies that get Razzies, they have their own cult following, so we might have to come up with the equivalent of a Razzie over here. War games continue to struggle. We lost Ottoman Sunset. We lost Labyrinth: The War on Terror. I mean, that's just kind of I think I'm not hearing a lot of really new, amazing. I got to play this war games. People are kind of playing some of the same iterations of stuff from previous years. We talked about Space Empires and a couple of games that get reprints and expansions. So I think that's kind of where things are right now, at least in the wargaming space. So we're going to probably continue to lose a couple of more of those. Euros. We lost more Euros, Anthony. More Euros.
You guys all stink. Y'all stink.
You got to get your brothers out to vote.
We lost the Colonists. We lost Lewis and Clark. Would you consider Lewis and Clark a Euro?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty card driven, but yeah, it's Euro-ish.
Yeah, we lost Russian Railroads, and I cannot believe this. We lost Orleans. Come on, guys. That is egregious. Orleans is an amazing solo.
Yeah, I would agree. Orleans and Russian Railroads both. I mean, come on. I don't mind the other two, but
No, I was gonna say I like Orleans too, quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a co-op Euro. I guess I'm a little bit rationally attached to that one, but man, I mean, we got a couple Euros on here, but it's funny how it's almost like the list can only tolerate so many Euros, like one in, one out kind of thing, like antibodies in a body. Like if we get a Euro, we're gonna have to spit one out, at least one.
I think that's part of it, though, is the people who like Euros will vote for the new one that comes out that year, it seems,
Right.
And so other ones just fall off, and that's it.
Yeah, so we'll definitely talk about some of the Euros that came on and replaced it. And like we said, it really, solo gaming is thematic, it's mid-weight, it's a certain time length, 60 to 90 minutes. There's a definite template for what's going to have success in this list. And, whatever falls out is going to kind of be in this niche thing. I don't know if it's going to really grow unless something really changes. So that's kind of where we are at this point. Last thing, I mentioned it last time, but it is actually not on the list. Rallyman. It looks like Flamme Rouge has kind of taken its place as the solo racing game of choice, at least for this time.
Yeah, for a little bit though, because Rallyman's coming back. Like the Kickstarter is up now, so a new version of that.
You mean it's gonna rally?
Yeah, there you go. I missed it.
I know you're tired, man. You got to get up at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning.
No puns here. I get.
And for all your Euros, Anthony, I am going to throw up 101 to 200 at the end. I'll throw them up like I did last year, so people will see all those games, maybe remember them, bring them back out.
Especially Russian Railroads. I mean, that one, with the expansion, it's a really solid one.
Yeah,
I was surprised Limes fell that much.
Oh yeah,
because everybody talks about that, and I see it all the time, and maybe it's just hard to get.
Super hard to guess.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing with a lot of Euros too. Is that they have such small print runs, and then they do go out of print so quickly. Not that other games don't, but those ones in particular, a lot of them just. They come and go, or the people who have them are the same people. So it's not like if your audience grows, they can't buy the new games.
Can I say the most pedantic thing ever? You can totally edit this out. So it's not Limes, it's Limes. because it's the Roman word for boundary markers.
Got it.
This is the only reason why you're on the show, Liz. There's no other reason why you're on the show.
What?
I still don't want to play it.
Wait,
Oh my God. So you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. If you pronounce it limes, Liz will come into your home and slap you silly. It is limes, for crying out loud. All right. So let us get into 50 to 26. So we're noting about all these Euros, but there's a reason why I'm focusing on like the thematic adventure stuff. Not just because of, whatever analysis I did, but like just looking at the list. This here in particular, this section of the list is where if you're a adventure game worth your salt, you may not be best in show, but you're good, you're going to land here. So like so many like adventure style games are right here. We're talking This War of Mine, Gloom of Killforth, Matches of Madness, Runebound, Elder Sign, Arkham Horror, the original one, Pathfinder adventure card game. I mean, Kevin, I know I'm like washing with all of the games that you play on a consistent basis.
I do have a lot of these, I have to admit.
And especially KDM. So KDM continues to kind of be in this spot. And I think this is exactly where it's going to be. It's going to have a lot of first place votes. It's going to have more first place votes in a lot of games. But not a lot of votes. So like if you're going to vote for it, you're going to vote for it first. It's just, I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I don't know if it's getting, or like the expansions are doing like 2025 or something like that. So I don't know what's going to happen to it, but I mean, KDM is just going to continue to be here. Kevin, you're the KDM guy, right?
Yeah, I have it. I like it. It's in my top 20, but it's good. I think it's a game that's probably better with others than it is solo.
Right.
Sharing the grief and the horror and the I can't believe my guy just lost his head sort of thing is more fun with others than, oh, okay, well, I'll start a new one.
Yeah. You get into that collaboration of like, okay, all right, let me take Skippy. I made Skippy 7 hours ago. Let me bring him back. And that stuff is only fun in like in groups. Right. But hey, look, a lot of people out there like it, so it's going to make the list over here. Okay, Anthony, I did talk about like Euros in, Euros out. 2 Euros that actually might have a ton of sticking power over here. We have Gaia Project and Anachrony.
Yeah, I mean, Gaia Project is a behemoth. That's like shooting up the regular list too, and it's basically replaced Terra Mystica for anybody who doesn't absolutely insist on playing Terra Mystica. It's Gaia Project now. So, I mean, we'll see. There's rumors that there's an expansion coming from Terra Mystica that makes it kind of modular, possibly solo play there. But for now, Gaia Project is like the cream of the crop on that side, and fantastic solo with the Automa. Anachrony too, it's another one of those just like really cool Automa bots that can actually turn a Euro into a fun solo experience. I mean, it seems to be that's what it takes, but these 2 games both have that, so that's pretty cool.
A lot of work went into both of these solos. We've talked about both of them on the previous episode. Compared to the Uwe corner, there's a lot of Uwe here. Glass Road, Fields of Aral, Agricola, At the Gates of Loyang. Le Havre did not make it, but there's only or Caverna did not make it either, but there's only so much Uwe we could take. Come on now, guys.
Yeah.
But compared to like, Uwe can throw a game up there and like, oh, play this by yourself. I think that is there a way to get kind of in the middle of there of like, again, it doesn't take like a billion years or like, so much development time to make solo versus, okay, just play it yourself. But, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to have to be the mechanics. Like, the mechanics have to support it. Like, Terraforming Mars is the kind of game, for example, that has mechanics that support that without a ton of rule changes or an Automa built in. But most of them don't have that. So you do get the 2 polar extremes.
That's definitely true. This is where Shadowrun Crossfire landed. That's your baby, Kev.
Yeah, except, because I like Dragonfire now, I didn't vote for Shadowrun Crossfire, even though I have 150 plays of it or something. I just said, okay, they're too similar for me to vote for both. So I went with the better theme.
and some people think Shadowrun is the better theme. I mean, how much D&D can we take? D&D's all over the place now, like 5th editions, but just been a consistent juggernaut. So like everything is D&D. Plus Dragonfire, I found to be more complicated. Like Shadowrun Crossfire, for as like crushingly difficult it is actually simpler. So I could see people be like, I'm good on Dragonfire.
I've said this before. I am that person. Like, there's a reason that generic fantasy and D&D stuff keeps selling, and it's because I'm the one. If you put a dragon on the box and be like, "Oh, pretty," and then think about buying it, like it's gonna happen.
It's you. It's me.
Well, it's me too, Liz. I'm with you.
But you didn't love Dragonfire, did you, Liz?
I think that it's good. It wouldn't be my top 20, but I think it's interesting. I want to keep playing it for a while, but I don't know if it's going to be my forever game.
I think it's good. Like, I mean, I'm the same. I mean, I'm not as to that extent. Because if I see the dragon and go, ooh, and then I see D&D, I'm like, let me check this out first before I've been burned on D&D, a Jace product before. But yeah, I mean, Dragonfire is good. Anthony, we actually made a little trade for it. Anthony was like, I don't know why I got this. Here, have it.
Oh, God. Spent like an ungodly amount of time trying to get through the rule book and like trying to play just those first couple of tutorial missions and even just like skipping that. I'm like, why does this exist? What is this? Like,
yeah, so that's the story on that one. So that again, tons of adventure style games. We're getting closer to the games that are really sing for solo players. Kev, Liz, Anthony, anything else jump out in terms of this part of the list for you?
One thing I just looking at the games that went up or down, and it's funny that there's 7 games in this group that went up or down 2. So it's like this. It's like it's the same games are in the same spot year after year.
Yes, I noticed that typing like the list, the 2017 list for a 2018 list, like a lot of the games auto-populated and in exactly the same spots are like relative to the same spots. So like Mansions of Madness was 30 last year, 31 this year. Fields of Arl, 36 last year, 37 this year. Baseball Highlights, 42 last year, 44 this year. They're just kind of like mamboing back and forth,
Yeah. Probably no more than any other section.
Yeah, I mean, good.
I was going to say, I'm going to see some new adventure card games other than Pathfinder on this list.
I thank you for mentioning Pathfinder.
I am not a lover of the Pathfinder adventure card game.
People like just because Pathfinder was first, or like or to do that style of game. Do I have to see this? I mean, it has a slick app, so people who play the app, I will definitely kind of give that up. Like I think they're continuing. I fell off the app, but last I saw, they were releasing a lot of stuff for it, and it's a nice way to handle all the admin of that. But I mean, are people really playing the physical version of this game still? Like, however many years out? Ugh.
I can't remember what I did last year, but I combined all the Pathfinders this year. So maybe it is dropping down, and I just made it hold on for dear life or something.
Oh, you hadn't done that before? Like you put Skulls and Shadows separate?
I'm an old man. It's hard to remember what I did last year.
I play that card more and more in therapy. I'm like, I'm an old man. Leave me alone.
You got a new board. You're not that yet old.
But it doesn't stop me from playing the card. All right. So that was 50 to 26. Let us get to the top of the list, 25 to 1. We were talking before the call and noticing. So you've tuned into the top 100 solo 5 straight years, and maybe you've kept in touch with the list. You do not tune into the list to see what number 1 is. You know what number 1 is. It's been number 1 all 5 years. It was my number 1 when I voted. It was I think the one game that appeared, or maybe 1 or 2 that appeared on all of our personal top 20s. To take a look and just trying to see what is shared. However, it's number 2 that makes the story, because we wonder, like, okay, how close is it going to get? 2017, number 2, I think, was like Robinson Crusoe or one of these other games. Like, it did not come close. It was like, Mage Knight literally doubled up the second place finish. It was Scythe. There you go. But this year, Spirit Island came really close. Kev, do you want to break down some of those numbers and how close Spirit Island came to the top spot?
Yeah, so it has a better average. It came within 300 points, and like you said, last year the difference was 1,100 or something between first and second. It's I mean, with more votes, it might take over Mage Knight. Maybe I don't know. Mage Knight still has more number one votes, and again, that's sheer numbers. But the people who like Mage Knight, like me, love Mage Knight, and I mean, Spirit Island's on my list. It's way up there. But Mage Knight, when I really get objective and look at it and think, what would if I, the desert island scenario, that if I could only have one game, it's still Mage Knight for me. But it's funny, I was telling you before we started, as I'm typing in these numbers, I'm thinking, man, I'm seeing Spirit Island a lot. So I actually calculated the list 4 or 5 times throughout the month to see where it was. And I'm like, oh, Spirit Island's got to be leading now. And every time I did it, Mage Knight was up 100 or 200, and I do it again, and it was up 150, and then it was up 250. So I kept doing it, thinking one of these times I'm going to recalculate, and Spirit Island's going to win this thing. But no, long live the king.
Long live the king, indeed. So when I comparing all of our top 20s, I'm not going to share it because I think Kevin wants to do something with his top 20, and we already have a top 100. You don't need more tops. But just to kind of reflect the fact that it's Mage Knight, Gloomhaven, and Spirit Island were the 3 games that made all 3 of our lists, and then other predictable games kind of made 3 of our lists or 2 of our lists. But Spirit Island, Anthony, do you feel like that is? I mean, I don't think that was your number one, but do you feel like that's a worthy number one eventually, or do you think it just Mage Knight is just going to be up there?
I think so. Yeah, I mean it's such a good game, and it has so much content just as it is right now, and then you throw in all the new stuff that they just kickstarted, and there's just content for days, right? Like if you if you just play this legit all the time, it could last you a very, very long time, which is a good sign for any of these. You look at all the the games that are up here, and the ones that are successful have a ton of content to go through. So I think that's a huge part of it, and it's just such a good game. It's a puzzle up there with any of the rest of these puzzles like Gloomhaven or Mage Knight, where it's not just this co-op game that you're playing solo. It's a legit complicated puzzle that you're trying to solve.
And yeah, the theme, everything about it is so good. I was blown away when I got it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I'll disclose on my own list. Mage Knight and Spirit Island went 1-2. So.
Mm-hmm. So Spirit Island, I think if I could kind of point to, and I'm actually going to point to it for a lot of these games. So if you were looking at the top, what is it, like 5? You're talking Spirit Island, Terraforming Mars, Scythe, Gloomhaven, Lord of the Rings, Arkham Horror, Robinson Crusoe. None of these games are surprises. I mean, these are games that, we were teasing Kevin before. It's like, okay, I'm going to reveal the top 5, just alone. Like, people know. Like, these are games, especially since 2016, people just know. But all of these games are designed with 2 in mind, or 2 or more. So, like, you can play Spirit Island with 1, but I think it's better if you 2-hand it. And you get the card into play, you get, setting up all the, you get to cooperate, so to speak. And I think a solo player is like, give me 1, and that's what Mage Knight does. Mage Knight's the only of the game here that was designed for 1 and scales up, which is why it's terrible at 3 or 4. But all these other games were designed for multiplayer and they scaled down. Do you guys think that's like why Mage Knight is always going to be up there? Or do we really think that Spirit Island could, even with that, the ideal experience being multi-handed, has a chance?
I don't know. I think there's other factors too, although Spirit Island doesn't quite fit what I was going to say. But one of the things with Mage Knight, I mean, it was $60 to buy it or something, and that's all you needed. There's some expansions, but the base game is so incredible. That's something Spirit Island did, which is really good. But you look at the next few, Gloomhaven, it was a lot more than 60. But Lord of the Rings, to really play that, you're probably pushing 1,000.
Right.
Arkham's going to be the same way. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I know I like playing with more characters, so I never even that factor never even crossed my mind.
Anthony, am I way off in, in talking about multi-handing versus single-handing, or or is there another reason why Mage Knight continues to be number one?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm in the same boat as Kevin. I don't really think about it too much. It's funny. Like in my head, I always think, "Oh, I'd like to be able to do this with just a single character," but I don't think it matters to me in the end. Like a multi-hand Lord of the Rings, a multi-hand, a lot of these different games, and it doesn't really phase me one way or another. I still like them; they're still up there for me. But I think, to your point, Mage Knight is such a succinct, well balanced, perfectly engineered puzzle for one person. I think Spirit Island is very similar to that, at least for me. But it is hard to argue with kind of the perfect way that Mage Knight captures what most solo gamers want when they sit down at the table, like to try to crack that nut.
Okay, so a couple of things to round out our discussion of the top 20. There is one debut, the highest debut, which is our good friend Ricky Royal, Renegade.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Woohoo! Yeah, really happy for him, man. I mean, he this is the box of delights. He made his top 100 solo list before solo was cool, and we're just really happy for him. I mean, you guys both played Renegade, right?
Yep.
Yeah, real good.
Yeah, it's just everything that a solo gamer wants. It's in that range. It's actually not listed on the thematic charts, but it does have really cool style, which it doesn't. It is not that thematic a game, but at least it has a really cool sheen to it. Lots of thinky decisions, right in that middle weight. Perfect for solo. So a couple of other categories just to kind of close this off. This is from BGD user Sharp Mellow. He suggested a bunch of kind of best in show categories to point out for people. Pretty static. Worker placement, viticulture continues to kind of set the pace there, although Anachrony is kind of giving it a run for its money. Anthony, what do you prefer for worker placement?
Anachrony. Yeah, I mean, viticulture is shorter. It's a little more accessible, but Anachrony, to me, is a better game.
It might still be viticulture just because of accessibility. To Kevin's point, it just costs less. Anachrony is a little bit harder to get. Viticulture is just there. You can just show up on BGG or show up on cool stuff, get it, and you're good. But I think I agree with you. Anachrony has a little bit more there. Friday has Onirim and Friday kind of jostled for a couple of years, but I think Friday has kind of put the clamps down on that.
Yeah.
So obviously Lord of the Rings and Arkham, that's kind of where people get their, big, long, lots of content stuff. Although Seven Continents kind of honing in there too. A different experience, but kind of, turns that, layered card play and expandable, all that kind of stuff. You're going to get your itch there. On the kind of card side, at least more strategic, you got Race for the Galaxy, also Imperial Settlers, which I know, Anthony, you're still a fan of. You're still getting stuff for that, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm still waiting for that new expansion to show up in the mail, but the Amazons. But I'm excited to give it a go. I haven't played the game in a little while. So
is that a faction expansion, or is there actual content for it?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, it's a faction expansion. It's a new faction, but a couple new mechanisms thrown in there too.
Okay.
And up 13 spots. That's pretty good. I was surprised at that.
It's the perfect solo game, man. If you're gonna play a Euro solo, that's it.
Yeah, and I wish it came in the box, but it doesn't. But you download that campaign, and it's really solid.
Yes, the campaign really makes Imperial Settlers for me.
Yes. So it definitely marries the whole theme and strategy and mechanisms in a very, very effective way. So kudos on Imperial Settlers. I need to get it. I had a very bad first experience for the game. So when it first came out, I spent 4 hours playing that game, which is way too long in a multiplayer situation. I may have to kind of revisit that one. So Dungeon Crawler, we're looking at Too Many Bones. Once again, it takes the cake. I think it'll be here for a while. Although Sword and Sworcery debuted in the list a little bit further out. But I'm hoping with the Kickstarter and there's a new Kickstarter for a new campaign and new faction packs, that one gains ground. That one's my favorite, kind of dice chucker of a dungeon crawler. Hoping that one kind of picks up speed as well.
I like it. I don't see it making the list. There's just too many. But I will say I'm really happy for Chip Theory games and Too Many Bones. I mean, I love their stuff. So I love that this made top 10.
Yep. Undertow did not hurt. So there's more stuff for it.
Right.
I'm assuming you back Cloudspire. Actually, I said hi to you in the Cloudspire chat. I remember that.
Yeah.
So I'll be getting Cloudspire when it backs as well. Have a review of that one. Euro, kind of the seminal Uwe is a feast for Odin. We talked about that last year, Anthony, as if you're going to pick one UA to play solo, that's going to be it.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, this or Fields of Arl, but they're both kind of that same sandboxy feel. This one just has a little bit more going on the outside, so I guess it's just because which one you prefer. This is the one I prefer.
Right. Dice Game One Deck Dungeon is going to solidify itself. I mean, that one definitely was on the hype train. I could have totally seen that game kind of fading. Deep Space D6 kind of fading. Hostage Negotiator is there, but it's not kind of on the top. I think One Deck Dungeon is going to be the pretty much go-to quick dice chucker for solo anyway, until something else comes along and dethrones it. And the last one, people are always asking about deck builders. Aeon's End. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of messed around with different deck builders. Like, people love an Apex Theropod. We haven't really talked about that much. We've remarked on that one in previous years. A little bit hard to get, but it is pretty thematic. It's actually flags as a thematic deck builder, which there are none. So kudos on that one. But Aeon's End, I mean, it's so smooth mechanically. The theme's not there at all, but I think people just are loving on the style. It's a great game. Getting an app, so that one is definitely cool. I know you're a fan of Aeon's End, right, Cam?
Yeah, I got rid of most of my other deck builders, and that's the one I keep that I really like.
All right, so that is basically the entire story. One last little bit, and this is another thing, and I've mentioned Sarah Bear's name a couple of times, and our different emails back to each other. She mentioned kind of let's pay attention to publisher year. Really good idea. So just out of the curiosity, what do you think is the most represented year in terms of published date? I'll give you choices: 2012, 2015, 2016, 2017.
Oh God.
16. I'll go with 16.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Just looking at when I think some of these games came out.
Yep.
I'm gonna be contrarian and say 12, even though I don't actually think that's right. There's still some oldies and goodies on here.
So the correct answer in terms of the most frequently occurring year is 20. It's actually a tie between 2015 and 2017. But so with let me see if I can pop up that stat over here. There was 14 games represented by 16 games from 2015, 16 to 2017. But 2015, that's actually pretty solidly on there. Like we talked about, if you're going to be on there, you're going to be on there a while. 2017, I mean, you're looking at games that are just going to probably fall off, that aren't going to have the staying power. So like Anthony mentioned, Noose for Jord might not have the staying power. I think you focused on 2016, Kev, because that is actually the highest representation. Those games are the highest on the list. So we're looking at, I mean, this is like a murderer's row of games. We're looking at Terraforming Mars, Scythe, Arkham Horror LCG, Aeon's End, Feast for Odin, One Deck Dungeon, Role Player, and Mansions of Madness. Those games, if you only own those games for solo, I think you're covered. You got light games, you got heavy games, you got deck builders, you got card games, board games, you got cool theme, you got story. I mean, that 2016, holy crap.
So if you came into solo gaming then, you'd think this is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like, wow. I really do think that 2016 really helped out in terms of the solo availability. And it was nice to see. It's just like, we get impressions of what we think is going on in the solo verse. But then things like Kevin's list comes out and it enables us to crunch numbers and really get a sense for, okay, what are solo gamers playing? What do we like? What do we don't like? Are you going to make a really light game? Are you going to make a really heavy game? Are you going to make a Euro? You can make a thematic game. Like, you can really kind of look at what's on this list and figure out as a gamer what you're going to get. And even as a publisher, like if you're a publisher and you want to break into this space, you look at it and say, okay, what kind of games are the solo players going to like? and there they are. And if you just make games, as our friend Archam find out, Archam is like, okay, what are solo gamers gonna like? I'm gonna not release a game. I'm gonna tell people about a game, and it's gonna make the list anyway.
But see, I think these numbers are also telling us just such good things about the future of solo gaming. Because, I remember looking at older lists when I was first, blogging, even in the past few years, right? It just really seemed like Friday was always going to be, in the top 5. And, all this kind of newer blood and stuff coming up the list is really exciting to me.
Oh, Spirit Island. Oh, talk about new blood.
I'm real happy about that. I really like that game.
So, so that was the top 100 People's Choice Solo Games 2018. The full list. Thank you so much, Kevin, putting this together. Thank you so much for giving us your time to, share about what's going on behind the scenes, putting the list together in the first place, and having fun chatting about some games.
Thanks for having me on. I love doing the podcast. Now, this list, I told a lot of people it's a labor of love, and I like seeing it. I love seeing people's reactions. I love seeing the comments as we put up each 10. It's a lot of fun. I look forward to it every year.
Liz, thank you so much for joining us and giving us the correct pronunciation of Limes.
Oh, I'm just happy to be on here. I've been following this list for years, and getting to talk shop with y'all about it is a delight to me. So, thanks.
All right, Anthony, man, take us home.
All right, guys, that is everything for this year's Top 100 People's Choice Solo Games. Another year, another 100 games to hopefully you have some of those already so you can save some money here at the end of the year. If you guys want to hang out and chat about the list or ask any questions about the process or any of those numbers Jason's been spouting the last couple episodes, hit us up on everynightitsgamenight.com or on the Facebook group, the Every Night It's Game Night group. Also head on over to the One Player Guild on BGG where you're going to find these lists and all the commentary that goes with them. But for this week, that's going to go ahead and be everything. So go ahead and grab a solo game off the shelf and let's make every night game night.
Later, everybody.
Happy gaming.
See ya.